Well, we finally did it. Our Gladiator Murmillo has reached level 60. It's been a long road, from those first wide-eyed steps as a fresh warrior in the arenas of the world, AoE pulling anything that moved, to hunting down rare loot and taking on elites that really didn't want to die. We've pushed our limits, seeing just how many mobs we could handle before everything went horribly wrong. We got carried through a black fathom deep raid, braved dark caves, dove to the bottom of the ocean for quests that probably weren't worth it. And that was only half the journey. As the servers thinned out and the world grew quiet, we kept going, taking out ancient beasts in Stranglethorn Vale, mowing down trolls by the dozen, doing our due diligence in Dustwallow, and stepping into the Emerald Nightmare itself for massive XP, and fought a truly unreasonable number of bugs. Hundreds of raptors fell before us, several gorillas got their revenge, and a turtle damn well slowed us down. Satyrs fell by the dozens, and there was even a surprise dinosaur jump scare. But it all led to this moment, level 60. The grind is done. But the journey isn't over. Now it's time for my favourite part, the end game. The pre-bis grind, the gear chase. The part where we stop leveling and start truly becoming a gladiator. But reaching 60 isn't the end, it's a new beginning, a new kind of battle. No longer chasing levels, now we chase strength. Every dungeon, every raid, every fight is another step toward perfection. So we march forward, steel in hand, scars earned, and a world still waiting to test us. First step, Blackrock Depth. From here we can get the Black Veil Cape from Houndmaster Grebmar, Stoneshell Guard from Lord Rockor, Savage Gladiator Chain from Gorosh the Dervish, Emberplate Arm Guards from Lord Incendius, and the Rock Golem Bulwark from Panzer. And from Emperor Thorison and Princess Bronzebeard we can get the Emperor's New Cape, Imperial Jewel, Hand of Justice, Ebon Steel Spolders, and Iron Foe. A total of 10 items that would all make considerable upgrades for our warrior. Let's see what we can get. Starting off strong with Houndmaster dropping the cape, but unfortunately the Hunter wins it. Lord Rockor drops nothing for us. In the arena we actually get super lucky and get Gorosh. And you wouldn't believe it, but the Savage Gladiator Chain drops. It must be because I'm playing Gladiator spec. We roll need, and yeah, the Hunter wins that as well. Can you believe this guy? Needing on my Gladiator's Chain. He's not a Gladiator, what an asshole. He doesn't need it. The Hunter, not even that good for him. Lord Incendius drops some nail braces. More good shit for the Hunter. Panzer drops a fist weapon, no upgrade for us. Finally onto Emperor and Princess. So much potential. Let's see what we get. The Imperial Jewel drops, and the Druid gets it. So of 10 total items, we had the Black Veil Cape, Savage Gladiator Chain, Imperial Jewel all drop, only to lose the roll on all 3 of them. So not an overly successful run in BRD. Let's move on to a crowd favourite, Stratholme. Especially in Season of Discovery, Strat is great for undermine reels, which can be used to purchase a bunch of goodies, including Tier 1, Tier 2. This because generally groups run full strats, so it includes both living and undead size, giving you a huge amount of reels. So we have a lot of potential upgrades here. Let's see what we can get. Starting on the living side, from the Unforgiven, we can get the Mask of the Unforgiven and Wailing Nightbone Pauldrons. From Timmy the Cruel, we can get Van Braces of the Sadist. Cannon Master Willie drops Master Cannoneer Boots and Willie's Portable Howitzer. Archivist Galford has the Archivist Cape, which can roll random stats to have something good for us. Grand Crusader Dathrahan or Balnazar drops 2 good helms, the Crown of Tyranny and the Grand Crusader's Helm. Over on the undead side, starting with Neruban Khan, there's Carapace Spine Crossbow and the Husk of Neruban Khan. Maleki the Pallid drops Pale Moon Cloak. Magistrate Bartholus drops Death Grips. Next, a good boss for us is Ramstein the Gorger, dropping the Crest of Retribution, Band of Flesh, and Gauntlets of Valor. And finally, from Baron Rivendare, we can get the Helm of the Executioner, Cape of the Black Baron, Skullforge Reaver, and Leg Plates of Valor. A whopping 17 possible upgrades from 11 bosses. Surely we get something. Starting off with the Unforgiven, we get nothing. Timmy next, and nothing from him either. On to Scarlet Cannoneer Willie, and I get some Rogue Shoulders. Not great, but still an upgrade. Archivist drops nothing for us, and Balnazar actually drops the Crusader's Helm, which is an upgrade, but it has Holy Power on it, so it must have been changed for Sod. Over onto Undead side, Naruben Khan drops a green shield. That's sadly an upgrade, but none of the good loot we were after. Maleki the Pallid drops some crappy boots. Magistrate Barthas drops us the key to the city, which is nice, but otherwise nothing good. Ramstein the Gorger drops nothing. And finally, Baron Rivendare actually drops the Cape of the Black Baron, and we win it. So that's a nice upgrade. So from a total of 17 potential upgrades, we managed to get 2 items. Not hugely successful, but better than BRD. Next off, we are heading into the Nightmare to fight the 4 Emerald Dragons in our first raid. Emerus, Lethon, Teyrar, and Ysondre. And these guys can drop way too much stuff to go over. Basically all of the tier 2.5 AQ set, half the tier 2 Blackwing Lair set, and the Blackwing Lair class trinkets, as well as their own normal loot and shared loot. Either way, we're almost guaranteed to be more successful in here than in the dungeons we've been doing. Starting off with the Ashenvale boss Teyrar, who applies a stacking debuff to targets in front of them, requiring a tank swap, and splits into multiple dragons during the fight. Super easy. We snag the Blackwing Lair Warrior trinket from that boss and move on to the next dragon, Ysondre in the Hinterlands. Ysondre can be a little more difficult due to the same tank swap mechanic and spawning hundreds of ads and a green gas that puts you to sleep for what feels like forever. But she goes down easy enough as well, due to our group having full world buffs and a few people in Scarlet Enclave gear at this point. We pick up a Nightmare Engulfed object from Ysondre, which we later turn in for a basic stamina hit ring in Moogblade. Nothing special, but definitely an upgrade. Next up is Emerus in Duskwood. Now, Emerus can be the most difficult if you have bad DPS. Basically, same mechanics as the others with the tank swap and the clouds. However, at about half health-ish, a whole raid of Alliance spawn at the other end of the zone and come to fight you. And if you don't kill the boss before they get to you, they just start CCing everyone, and anyone that dies turns into a mushroom that explodes and kills everybody else. It used to be a real pain. The Alliance raid could be distracted for a long time with like a shaman tank and a healer, or just a super geared shaman on their own. But with Scarlet Enclave gear and a full rack of world buffs, Emerus goes down quick enough that you can just ignore that Emery raid altogether. Another dragon down, and on to the last. Lethon in Feralas. Lethon's another annoying one. Not overly difficult. Same tank swap mechanic, same sleepy clouds, but at intervals he summons a bunch of shadow clones of all the raid members that slowly walk towards him and then heal him when they get to him. These clones can only be killed by auto attacks, which is just super annoying. So generally people just seem to ignore them and just out DPS the healing. It's a bit slower, but it works. Finally, Lethon goes down and that's it. Short, sharp, 4 raid bosses killed. Loot's rolled out, Karaji Bindings of Command drop, and we actually soft reserve that one and roll a huge 99, winning it. We can trade that in for our tier 2.5 shoulders or boots. Draconian shoulders drop, which can be turned in for our tier 2 shoulders, but we lose the roll. A second Karaji Bindings of Command drops, and we win that too, getting a guaranteed 2 set of tier 2.5 from this one run. Primeval chest drops, which is a tier 2 chest token, and we win that too. So a total 2 bits of tier 2.5, an OK ring, and a tier 2 chest from this raid, which resets every 3 days. Insane. I get straight down to AQ, turn those tokens in for my 2 set, and we're looking good now, kind of. Anyway, after that we get back to dungeons. One of my favourites next, Skullomance, a castle restored by the Barov family before converting everything underneath into a school of necromancy, led by Darkmaster Gandling, working with Kel'Thuzad. Not too much in here for us, but what there is pretty good. The first notable boss for us is actually only here because of the Naxxramas invasions, Lord Blackwood. drops both his blade and shield, which would both be decent upgrades for us. After that, we have Frost Whisper, the Lich, who can drop us some decent gloves and a shield. Towards the end, we have 6 agents of Scholomance that need to be killed to summon Dark Master Gandling, and they have the same loot table mostly. They are Lord Alexei Barov, Dr. Thiolan Krastanov, Lady Elucia Barov, the Ravenian, Instructor Milicia, and Lawkeeper Polkelt. And they can drop the Ancient Bone Bow for us. Finally, Dark Master Gandling himself can drop the Helm of Valor. First off, we face Lord Blackwood, and he actually drops his shield, and we win it. Nice upgrade. Next up, we've got Ras Frostwhisper that gets turned back into his human form because somebody started a quest and whatever. He still drops loot, but nothing for us. Moving along. We've got 6 mini-bosses next. Lawkeeper Polkelt first, drops nothing. Dr. Tholan Krastanov next, drops some crappy pants. Instructor Militia drops nothing. Downstairs to the Ravenian drops nothing. Lord Alexei Barov drops some pally braces. And Lady Elucia Barov drops some leather pants. Finally, we have Dark Master Gandling. He drops some nice braces, but they're not as good as ours that we bought off the AH. And a Shaman Helm. So, overall, 1 piece of gear. Not great, but not terrible. At least we got some progress. A couple days later, and I do another Emerald Dragons raid, because it's reset. Once again, Teira goes down, followed by Ysondre. Emrys is next, who drops an intact Peritoneum, which I reserved, and lucky I did, because I rolled a terrible 5 to win it. Then it's on to Lethon, who drops nothing. I head straight down to AQ once again to turn in my Peritoneum and pick up my helm for a 3 set of tier 2.5 now. Looking something in our purple and red. Cool. He looks cool. I wouldn't say good, but it's kind of cool. Back into Scullo again next, except this time I'm tanking. And it's pretty fun. Not in Gladiator stance, but it's fun all the same. It just feels like the same as when I was leveling in Glad stance, just using Thunderclap and Shockwave constantly. Someone summons the dungeon's set boss Cormac during the Ras Frostwhisper fight, and he actually drops an upgrade for me that I didn't even know about. The Blade of Blackwood. Like Lord Blackwood. And it's a tanking sword, but it's only just lower DPS than our axe, but has a lot more stamina. So I take it. After that, I finally go do an Upper Blackrock Spire. Not because there was anything too exciting gear-wise in there for me, but because I needed to attune to Blackwing Lair. On top of that, we had a Shaman tank that was in almost full BIS Scarlet Enclave gear, so it went like super quick. Like some of these pulls were completely ridiculous and everything just dies. Between the Shaman and the Warrior with the Ashbringer, everything just melts. With that all said and done, I can finally go into Blackwing Lair and turn in my tier 2 token for my Wrath chest piece. After that, I managed to get into a Naxxramas run. But I had a problem. I was playing from rural Australia, and the internet was shit. We were doing a hard mode 2 run, which is basically no change when everyone's got rank 7 seals. It was super easy. Especially with most of the raid having some like Scarlet Enclave gear, if not close to BIS. But the way these runs generally work is you clear trash without any hard mode on, then once all the trash before the first boss of each wing's killed, you'd go back, activate all the hard modes, so you don't have to worry about any of those extra mechanics when you're clearing trash, which is arguably the hardest part of the raid. That all seemed to go okay. And even the first wing of the military quarter went pretty well. We killed Instructor Vesuvius, Gothic the Harvester, and then the lag starts. And I died during 4 horsemen to Mograin's mark damage, and get a lovely floor POV for the rest of the fight. From here on, the lag only gets worse and worse. Here's the very next boss, Noth the Plaguebringer. The boss is dead, loot's being rolled out, but on my screen, he's still at 30% health. And it just devolves from there. Hagen the Unclean is pretty much on full health. I get ported, and then he's dead. Gargle prints out the loot that's dropped to the raid. It's real bad. I'll still roll on and win some pants though. Shameless, I know. Lotheb dies at just under 40% health. It was so bad, but this was a guild run, and they knew my net was shit, and were happy to carry me and just feed me loot, even though I pretty much couldn't contribute. So I stayed, but it felt horrible. I hate getting carried in any sort of game, so this was like real bad for me. Just when I was thinking that though, we got to Patchwork, and he dies at the same time for me as everyone else. Maybe the lag's fixed. He drops a ring, we roll a 96, and win that too. Grobulus is next, and the lag's back, in full force, and he dies at 29%. Love it. Then Gluth and Edge is horrible. I jump down into his room just on my own, because everyone's already in there fighting, just not on my screen. He goes down at a whopping 68%. Just one off. Thaddeus next, and I just stay out in this one. I wasn't going to go in and risk zapping everyone by being on the wrong side and just not being able to tell. He goes down at 44% and drops a 3% crit trinket that I win. And die after the boss is dead. Crazy. Spiderwing next. Starting with a Nubrakan, he goes down at like 17%, so not too bad. After like 4 disconnects in between him and the next boss, we fight Grand Widow Fairlena, and she goes down at like 54%. She drops Widow's Remorse, a tanking sword. Still a solid upgrade for me, but I missed the roll, and then the guy that won it just traded it to me later because it was only a side grade for him or something, and a lot better than my shitty sword. I get to Maix's room all alone. It's just me and her. It's so weird. Eventually, though, everybody else appears for me and starts fighting, and then she's dead at 62% health. Like, I love that I'm getting gear, but God, it's so gross. Saffron goes down, and I'm on the floor. There was no chance of me living that, not unless, like, she ice blocked me. Finally, Kel'Thuzad. Once again, I'm on the floor, and I can't even see how much health the boss has, but he's been looted, and I just want this to be over. After everything's dead, loot starts to get rolled out, and I pick up, on top of the gear I've already got, desecrated braces, gauntlets, belt, legs, shoulders, and helm. Yep, a full 6 set from one run. Horrible run, but definitely a blessed one. After doing some shopping for all the mats I needed, I take all those desecrated bits back to Light's Hope Chapel and pick up my full 6 set of Dreadnought gear. And this shit's awesome. I've never had this gear. It's so cool. Next up, Kara. A much harder dungeon than the normal dungeons, but it drops snacks equivalent gear. So, is the risk worth the reward? Let's find out. The problem with a dungeon is I can't sort of just get lost in the throng of people like we can in a raid. It's a dungeon where your contributions actually kind of matter. And this being a harder dungeon, well, you'll see. We start working through the dungeon in the darkness. The first boss sneaks up on us, but we take him down easily enough. Second boss, you sort of get to pick which boss you face by which boss you set free. We fight Keiji, the Fire Mage, and he goes down after a while, but no gear for me. Next up, we have the Opera event boss, kind of like the Kara raid. Each time you do it, I don't know if it's each time or each week, but the bosses change. This time, it's kobolds. No problem for us. Then we jump into a pit out the front of the Opera event and straight into the next boss, a giant spider. And this fight's actually pretty cool. You gotta group up all the little spiderlings that spawn over the fight, and then when their damage gets too overwhelming, the tank backs a whole lot into a massive spider web, where the torch that he's carrying sets it on fire, and all the little spiders run away. After that, we've got the Bonestorm boss from ICC, but orange. Another really cool fight, and he drops a shovel. The group basically begs me to take it and use it, but I have no skill in shovels. Maces, I think it's a mace. But we take it anyway. We get to the second last boss, and wipe. And we wipe over and over. We tried with me tanking and the druid DPSing, we just we couldn't do it. We didn't have the damage. And I feel responsible. My damage was so bad compared to the others, especially with like my gear. I've become like a massive burden on small groups like this. My gear's strong, but the sword and shield just hold me back. The time's come for the Gladiator to rise again. The shield was noble, a symbol of discipline and defense. But with these greater challenges that await us, to face them, we have to adapt, to stand shoulder to shoulder with our allies, not as a wall, but as a weapon. The dream of the Gladiator has been struck down. Not by a gorilla this time, but by a shovel and some encouraging words. So, in the next final episode, we forge a new path. One of power, one of purpose. The shield falls, and a legend begins.